Do you ever find yourself staring into the refrigerator, wondering if that delicious meal from last night is still good enough for lunch today? Or perhaps you're simply trying to save time and money by making your meals stretch a little further. It's a common practice, isn't it? We've all done it, thinking we're being resourceful. But what if I told you that some of those seemingly harmless reheating habits could actually be putting your health at serious risk? What if the very act of warming up certain leftovers is quietly, unknowingly, doing more harm than good to your precious body? It's a hidden danger that many of us, especially as we get a little older, aren't aware of. We grew up learning to be thrifty, to waste nothing, and reheating food was just part of that wisdom passed down through generations. But the science of food safety has evolved, and there are some surprising truths about certain everyday foods that could be turning your nutritious meal into something quite the opposite. This isn't about fear. It's about empowerment. It's about giving you the knowledge to protect yourself and your loved ones. In this heartfelt conversation today, we're going to uncover 5 common foods that, when reheated incorrectly, can pose a real threat to your digestive system, your energy levels, and even your overall well-being. We'll talk about why they're risky and, more importantly, what you can do instead to stay safe and healthy without sacrificing convenience. So, settle in, grab a warm cup of tea, and let's explore these important truths together. You'll want to watch all the way to the end, because there's something waiting for you that might just completely change how you think about your next meal. Let's dive right into our first surprising culprit, a staple in many kitchens around the world: rice. You see, rice is wonderfully versatile, a perfect side dish for so many meals, and often we cook a large batch to last a few days. But it's the way we handle and reheat rice that can become problematic, and it's something many of us unknowingly get wrong. The issue with rice isn't about the rice itself spoiling in the traditional sense, but rather a hidden danger that lurks within a bacterium called Bacillus cereus. This sneaky little germ produces spores that are incredibly resilient. They can survive the cooking process, even when the rice is boiled to perfection. Now, these spores aren't necessarily harmful on their own when the rice is piping hot and fresh. The trouble begins when cooked rice is left to cool slowly at room temperature. This warm, moist environment is exactly what Bacillus cereus needs to wake up, multiply rapidly, and, crucially, produce toxins. And here's the really important part: reheating the rice, even to a very high temperature, might kill the bacteria, but it will not destroy these toxins. So, you could be eating rice that looks and smells perfectly fine, but those invisible toxins are still there, ready to wreak havoc on your system. The symptoms of this can range from nausea and vomiting to diarrhea. And while it might not be life-threatening for most, it can certainly make you feel incredibly unwell, especially for those of us whose digestive systems aren't quite as robust as they once were. Imagine you've made a beautiful stir-fry for dinner, complete with fluffy white rice. You have leftovers, and perhaps you get distracted, leaving the rice on the counter for a couple of hours before popping it into the fridge. That seemingly innocent lapse in time is precisely enough for those spores to get busy multiplying and producing toxins. When you reheat it the next day, you're essentially warming up a plate of those toxins. To avoid this, the key is rapid cooling. As soon as you're done serving, spread any leftover rice thinly on a clean plate or tray to help it cool down quickly. Aiming to get it into the refrigerator within 1 hour, store it in a sealed container. And here's a golden rule: consume it within 1 day of cooking. And when you do reheat it, make sure it's piping hot all the way through, steaming vigorously, and only reheat it once. If you have a larger batch of rice you want to save for longer, consider dividing it into smaller portions and freezing them immediately after cooling. Freezing halts the bacterial growth and toxin production, making it a much safer option. Now, speaking of staples, our next food is another beloved item that often makes an encore appearance: chicken. Whether it's roast chicken from Sunday dinner or a leftover stir-fry, chicken is a go-to for many of us looking for a quick and easy meal. And just like with rice, the concern isn't with the fresh chicken itself. but rather with how it's handled and reheated. Chicken, being a high-protein food, is incredibly susceptible to bacterial growth once it's cooked and begins to cool. Common culprits like Salmonella and Campylobacter can thrive if the chicken isn't cooled down quickly or if it's not reheated thoroughly enough. But it's not just about bacteria. When chicken is reheated, especially if it's done repeatedly or unevenly, its protein structure can change. This can make the meat tougher, less appetizing, and, more importantly, harder for your body to digest. For many of us, as we age, our digestive systems can become a little more sensitive and tougher. Less digestible proteins can lead to discomfort, bloating, or even more severe gastrointestinal upset. Imagine that delicious chicken casserole you made for dinner. You put a serving aside for tomorrow's lunch, thinking you're being efficient. If you just warm it up until it feels warm enough but isn't steaming hot throughout, you could be leaving dangerous bacteria alive and well. Or perhaps you reheated a portion, then decided you didn't want it, and put it back in the fridge to reheat again later. That's a double no-no because each heating and cooling cycle provides another opportunity for bacteria to grow if temperatures aren't perfectly maintained. To ensure your chicken is safe, always cool it down and refrigerate it promptly within 2 hours of cooking. Store it in an airtight container to prevent contamination. When it's time to reheat, make sure you do it only once and that it reaches an internal temperature of 74 degrees Celsius or 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Throughout, this means it should be steaming hot, not just warm. If you're using a microwave, make sure you stir the chicken halfway through the reheating process to ensure even distribution of heat, as microwaves can often create hot and cold spots. A great tip for safely reheating chicken is to incorporate it into a dish where it will be thoroughly cooked, such as a soup, a curry, or a casserole. By dicing or shredding the chicken and adding it to a boiling liquid, you ensure it gets heated right through. Alternatively, consider enjoying your leftover chicken cold in sandwiches, salads, or wraps. This way, you avoid the risks associated with reheating altogether, and you still get to enjoy the flavors without any worry. It's all about being mindful of how these wonderful foods are managed from plate to protect your well-being. So, we've talked about rice and chicken, two common heroes of our dinner plates that require a bit of careful handling. Let's move on to our third food item, one that's humble but incredibly versatile and often enjoyed in many forms: potatoes. Whether baked, boiled, roasted, or mashed, potatoes are a comfort food for so many of us, and they frequently make an appearance as leftovers. The potential danger with cooked potatoes, however, lies in a very serious, though thankfully rare, type of food poisoning called botulism. This isn't about general bacteria that cause an upset stomach. It's about a highly potent toxin produced by the bacteria, Clostridium botulinum. These bacteria thrive in environments with very little oxygen, which is exactly the kind of situation you create when you wrap a baked potato tightly in foil and leave it to cool slowly at room temperature. Or when you store a large batch of mashed potatoes in a deep, airtight container without proper cooling out. The spores of Clostridium botulinum are naturally present in soil, and therefore can be on potatoes. While cooking kills the bacteria themselves, it doesn't always kill the spores. If these spores find themselves in a warm, low-oxygen environment, they can germinate and produce the dangerous botulinum toxin. And here's the really critical point: reheating the potato, even to a high temperature, might kill the active bacteria, but it will not destroy the toxin itself. This means you could eat a reheated potato that contains this potent toxin without even knowing it, as it doesn't necessarily produce an off smell or taste. The symptoms of botulism are very serious and can include nausea, vomiting, dizziness, blurred vision, difficulty swallowing, and even paralysis. While rare, it can be fatal if not treated promptly. Imagine that delicious baked potato you had with your steak or roast dinner. You're full, so you loosely wrap the leftover half in foil and leave it on the counter, planning to finish it for lunch the next day. That moist, Low oxygen environment created by the foil and the slow cooling is precisely what Clostridium botulinum loves. To keep your potatoes safe, the golden rule is quick cooling and proper storage. As soon as you're done with your meal, remove any leftover potatoes from their skins or foil, break them up, and spread them out on a shallow plate or tray to cool rapidly. Get them into the refrigerator within 2 hours. Store them in shallow, uncovered containers initially to allow air circulation. Then cover them once they're fully chilled. Consume them within 3 to 4 days. When you do reheat them, make sure they are piping hot throughout. For mashed potatoes, stirring frequently during reheating ensures even heat distribution. For baked potatoes, slicing them open and heating them in a conventional oven or toaster oven until they are steaming hot is ideal. Don't rely solely on the microwave, as it can sometimes heat unevenly. By being mindful of how you cool and store your potatoes, you can enjoy them safely without ever inviting this serious risk. Now, let's talk about another breakfast or brunch favorite that often finds itself in the leftover pile: eggs. From fluffy scrambled eggs to a hearty frittata, eggs are a staple in many diets, valued for their protein and versatility. However, cooked eggs, like chicken, are highly perishable and prone to bacterial growth, especially if not handled correctly after their initial cooking. The primary concern with reheating eggs stems from their protein structure and the potential for bacterial proliferation. While thorough cooking initially eliminates bacteria like salmonella, the rapid cooling and proper refrigeration of cooked eggs are crucial. If cooked eggs are left at room temperature for too long, bacteria can quickly multiply. When these eggs are then reheated, especially if not to a sufficiently high temperature or if done unevenly, any lingering bacteria or new growth can cause food poisoning. Furthermore, the protein in eggs changes significantly when cooked. Reheating them can further alter the structure, making them tougher, rubbery, and potentially harder for your digestive system to break down. For some, this can lead to stomach upset, bloating, or general discomfort, particularly as our digestion can become a little more sensitive with age. Think of a scenario where you made a large batch of scrambled eggs for a family breakfast. There are good portions left over, and you decide to put them in a container, planning to have them for lunch. If that container sits out on the counter for a couple of hours before it finally makes its way to the refrigerator, you've already created an opportunity for bacteria to start multiplying. Then, if you only warm it slightly the next day in the microwave, leaving cold spots, you could be setting yourself up for an uncomfortable afternoon. To safely handle cooked eggs, always ensure they are cooked thoroughly the first time, with no runny whites or yolks if you plan to save them. Immediately after serving, cool any leftovers rapidly by dividing them into smaller portions if necessary, and refrigerate them in a sealed container within 2 hours. When it comes to reheating, it's best to reheat cooked eggs only once and ensure they are piping hot throughout. Stirring scrambled eggs or omelets during reheating can help ensure even heat distribution. However, a safer approach is often to avoid reheating cooked eggs altogether. Instead, consider incorporating them into dishes that will be thoroughly cooked from scratch, such as adding them to a fried rice or a casserole where they will reach high temperatures. Alternatively, hard-boiled eggs can be safely stored in the refrigerator and enjoyed cold in salads or as a protein-rich snack. By understanding these simple principles, you can continue to enjoy the nutritional benefits of eggs without putting your health at risk. Finally, let's turn our attention to something incredibly healthy that can surprisingly turn sour when reheated: leafy greens, especially spinach. Spinach, along with other leafy greens like beetroot, celery, and kale, is celebrated for its nutritional powerhouse status, packed with vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. But here's the unexpected twist: these vibrant greens contain naturally occurring compounds called nitrates. While nitrates themselves are generally harmless, the problem arises when these greens are cooked and then cooled slowly and subsequently reheated. During this process, especially if the food is left at room temperature for an extended period, Enzymes and certain bacteria can convert the harmless nitrates into nitrites, and it doesn't stop there. Under certain conditions in the body, these nitrites can then further transform into more concerning compounds known as nitrosamines. While the immediate risk of severe illness from this conversion is low for most healthy adults, long-term exposure to high levels of nitrites and nitrosamines can be a cause for concern, particularly for older adults or those with certain health conditions. These compounds can potentially affect the blood's ability to carry oxygen and have been linked in some studies to health issues over time. It's not about immediate food poisoning symptoms like nausea or diarrhea, but rather a more subtle, cumulative effect that we want to avoid. Imagine you've made a lovely side of creamed spinach to go with your dinner, or a healthy spinach and feta quiche. You have a portion left and decide to have it for lunch the next day. Reheating it in the microwave. The longer that cooked spinach sits, especially at room temperature, and the more times it's warmed up, the higher the chance of that chemical conversion taking place. It's truly a case where fresh is best for these greens. To minimize the risk with spinach and other leafy greens, the most important advice is to eat them freshly cooked whenever possible. If you do have leftovers, cool them very rapidly after cooking and get them into the refrigerator promptly. Within 1 hour. Consume them within 1 day of cooking. Ideally, avoid reheating cooked spinach altogether. If you absolutely must reheat it, ensure it's done very quickly and thoroughly, reaching a steaming hot temperature throughout, and only reheat it once. A better option, if you have excess fresh spinach, is to incorporate it into dishes that don't require cooking, like fresh spinach salads, or adding raw spinach to smoothies after blanching quickly and cooling. This way, you still get all the incredible nutritional benefits without any of the potential risks associated with reheating. It's a small adjustment that can make a big difference in how you consume these vital vegetables, ensuring they continue to be a source of health, not a hidden concern. We've journeyed through 5 common kitchen heroes today: rice, chicken, potatoes, eggs, and spinach. And while they are all wonderfully nutritious and delicious in their own right, we've seen how the simple act of reheating, if not done mindfully and correctly, can sometimes turn them into unexpected villains. Remember rice and the sneaky bacteria that loves to grow if it's left out too long after cooking, producing toxins that even reheating can't destroy, or chicken. Where thorough, single reheating is key to avoid digestive woes and ensure all those pesky bacteria are truly gone. Then there were potatoes, which can harbor something truly nasty if they're not cooled quickly and correctly, especially when wrapped up tight. And our breakfast friend, eggs, needing careful handling and thorough reheating to prevent stomach upsets. Finally, spinach, teaching us about those nitrates that can change form when reheated, leading to concerns over time. Now, I know this might sound a little daunting, perhaps even a bit scary, but please don't let it overwhelm you. The goal here isn't to make you afraid of your kitchen or your delicious leftovers. It's simply to empower you with knowledge. Think of it as another layer of wisdom you've gained, another tool in your well-being toolkit that helps you navigate your daily meals with confidence and care. Small, informed changes in our daily routines are truly what pave the way for a healthier, happier life, especially as we embrace these beautiful golden years. Most of the risks we've discussed today can be easily managed with a bit of mindful practice: rapid cooling, prompt refrigeration, proper storage in shallow containers, and ensuring that any food you do reheat is piping hot all the way through, and only reheated once. It's about embracing a proactive approach to your health, understanding the nuances of how food interacts with your body, and making choices that truly nourish you, inside and out. Perhaps this is an invitation to cook smaller portions more often, enjoying more freshly prepared meals. Or maybe it's a prompt to get creative with how you use your cold leftovers, turning that cooked chicken into a vibrant salad, or those potatoes into a cold potato salad instead of always reaching for the microwave. Your digestive system, your energy, your vitality, they all thrive when you provide them with the best fuel, handled with care. This isn't just about avoiding sickness, It's about feeling vibrant and strong every single day, having the energy to pursue your passions, spend time with loved ones, and simply enjoy life to its fullest. Imagine the peace of mind knowing you're doing everything you can to protect your body, to give it the nourishment it truly deserves. This wisdom about food safety isn't just for you. It's something you can share with your family, with your grandchildren, passing on a legacy of healthy living and mindful eating. I'd absolutely love to hear your thoughts on this. Have you ever experienced a bad reaction from reheated food? Or perhaps you have your own tried and true tips for handling leftovers safely that you'd like to share with our community. Please, share your experiences and wisdom in the comments below. Your insights are invaluable to this wonderful community we're building here, where we all learn and grow together. If this conversation has given you something new to think about, if it's inspired you to make even one small change for your health, please consider giving this video a gentle thumbs up. It truly helps us reach more incredible people like you who are committed to living their best life. And if you haven't already, do subscribe to our channel. We're dedicated to bringing you more practical, uplifting, and empowering advice to help you live your very best life, full of joy and vitality. At every age, remember, every day is a new opportunity to make choices that serve your health and happiness. You are strong, you are wise, and you are absolutely capable of making wonderful choices for yourself. Keep nurturing your body, keep learning, and keep embracing the incredible journey of life with open arms. Live your best life, full of health, happiness, and peace. Today and every day,